Hello and welcome to my podcast. I begin every podcast with a bowl so that we can connect, find our center, and receive the insight from the podcast. Hello and welcome to my next podcast. I've woken up this morning and it's about 6 weeks into the lockdown of coronavirus, and we're in May 2020, and I've been pondering on the thought of when lockdown started to occur and how I went through this stage of assessing all my symptoms and feeling into whether I was sick or not, and stepping into the unknown and kind of reading reports on news and feeling into what people were saying and taking it quite seriously and, going into the process of lockdown. And I remember the first few weeks of lockdown, I got this really strong sensation to start running. I wanted to run, I wanted to feel my heartbeat, and I wanted to take the opportunity to go outside anytime I could. And I also started cleaning out cupboards and recreating my space, and I guess finding my feet again in this new time that had been presented to me. And over that time, I've rediscovered myself, and I've started to connect with things that have perhaps been laying dormant in me, and I've started to create things that I wanted to do that I have never had the space to do. And I've also watched myself with my pressure and expectations on achieving those goals, and also trying to stay with flow, and it's also been a little bit of pressure of choosing the right direction or what to fill my space with. And in that time, which has been created by the universe, I've actually created new things. And so those new things are starting to develop and grow. And as we're starting to come out of lockdown, I'm starting to feel the pressure of those new things. It's like they've come out of their creative honeymoon period and they're starting to become something. So as that's occurring too, my old life that I had pre-lockdown is starting to knock on the door again. And I'm looking at it going, oh, what's that going to be like? What's that going to look like? Do I want to do that anymore? Or how does that fit in with this new life that I've created? And I can't work from home anymore. And I've always wanted to work out of a clinic. I always thought that it would be my own. And so I'm learning how to work out of someone else's space. And I've been offered 3 spaces to work out of. And my challenge is my decision making on which direction to go in and what that's going to feel like. So I've been sitting with this. And yesterday I spent the whole day writing the preamble to my online advanced emotional release bodywork course for my students, and I started to dissect cells so that they could get an understanding of how cells are working. And there's quite some interesting things that I learnt about cells and membranes and stabilities, and also how primarily our bodies want to survive. But also the one that came to me at the moment is around nutrients and how the cell will expand and change in order to find nutrients. And so I'm looking at this cloudy feeling in my body, and this lack of decision making, and this almost pause in not knowing which direction to go in. And it's actually stopping my movement or flow to move forward, which means that my cells almost feel like they're in a bit of starvation, because I'm not choosing a direction. And then as I was pondering that thought, I thought, gosh, this is the first time in my life that I haven't looked forward to something. And even saying the word look forward means that I'm looking ahead of myself out of my present body. And right now I'm so present, and the world's kind of edging into this place that it's never been before, because it can't be the same that it was. And I don't know who's actually looking forward and what they're actually looking forward to. And so as a creative, it's like, well, creation is you're creating something that you're going to feel now, that you're going to look forward to. It's a funny thing. And so as I was switched on to the news this morning, it was like the same old mundane thing, cases, the world, Trump, China, blah, 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 blah. Same tune, same frequency. And then there was something about this Rising Festival that was coming up, and how in May next year they're going to have a Rising Festival, and they were calling for creatives in the next 2 weeks to submit something bombastic and exciting, and they used words that were just so inspiring to my soul. And I actually started to get tears to my eyes as I started to read it. And I started to think that I really miss the arts. I really miss the entertainment. I really miss the creativity that creatives actually bring into the world. And I miss it because it's difficult to always be on and always be creative. And I suppose I realise now how much I have heavily relied upon creatives. Because I thought, well, what would I do today if I was feeling this way? And it's like, okay, I'd probably go to an art gallery. So there's a creative who's actually spent time to create the art. And there's someone who's created the space for us to go there and ponder and listen. And what are we getting from that space? We're getting inspiration. Or what are we getting from gigs and bands? We're getting the ability to lose ourselves, to perhaps not sit and analyse ourselves all the time, but to perhaps going to somebody else's journey. Yeah, and then I got to thinking about monks, and those who go to the forest, or those who go in isolation, or those whose devotional practice is to not be entertained or not be tempted, but to just live and to just feel. And now that I've moved outside because I wanted to create some space away from the family, and now I'm feeling nature. And I suppose nature is giving me so much life that's entertainment. So what is it that I'm really seeking? Is it prana? Is it life itself? Are my cells now actually getting nutrients? And perhaps the space inside my house was stagnant and stale. So on the calls, Gillian has a saying, and she says, if you're staying in the same pond, your pond's going to get stale. So if you do the same things every day with the same people and talk about the same things, you're going to get stale, which is a little bit like starvation of the cells. And so I'm in the same pond, and I'm reaching out to new people through Zoom. But now that I've come outside, nature is actually giving me nutrients. So my pond is now awakening. So maybe that's how they did it in the days before entertainment or creativity. I'm actually really grateful for the rain right now. And I'm really grateful for nature. And I'm grateful for the birds. And I miss the country. And I have been feeling stale. And this too shall pass. Yeah. It's an interesting thing I was reading on Facebook yesterday. A guy posted a status about boring. And he said, I'm bored. And he said he lost a lot of followers and people didn't quite like his saying he was bored. And then he said, why do you think that is? And I think that that's exactly how I'm feeling right now. I'm bored, and maybe starvation of the cells is boredom. Maybe it's that I've been seeking nutrients from so many things outside of myself that I'm discovering how to find nutrients within myself. And in the process of that, I'm going to go through a period of boredom. And in the past, when I was bored, I perhaps brought in entertainment in order to not feel bored, because it's actually a really awful feeling, you know? So now I'm just going to sit with bored and see how long that goes before it passes. Thank you for listening. Until my next podcast, enjoy. I hope it stimulated something inside you and it's making you think and ponder a little bit more. Okay, bye for now.